We all know the story of the Titanic, right? It's a legend, a tragedy, a blockbuster movie. But today, we're going to look at it as something totally different. A 110-year-old cold case. A crime scene buried 4 kilometers under the ocean that new technology is finally letting us investigate. You know, this wasn't just some clever marketing slogan. No way. People really, truly believed it. The public, the media, even the company's own vice president called it unsinkable. This thing was supposed to be the absolute peak of human engineering, a symbol of our total confidence in technology. And that is the central haunting question, isn't it? If it was so perfect, so incredibly safe, how did it end up as one of the deadliest disasters at sea in all of history? This is the mystery we are unpacking right now. To really get how the unsinkable sank, we've got to go back and appreciate why everyone bought into that promise in the first place. What was it that made this ship such a legend? I mean, the scale alone was just breathtaking. It was the largest moving object ever built by humans at the time. But its real claim to fame, its crown jewel, was the safety design. The ship's hull was divided into 16 of these watertight compartments. The idea was pretty simple. Even if the ship got punctured and four of these compartments flooded completely, it would still float. It seemed like a totally foolproof system. And right there, that's the brutal irony of it all. In a single glancing blow, something that took maybe 10 seconds, the iceberg defeated the one safety feature that made the Titanic famous. It didn't breach 4 compartments, it breached 6. And with that, the ship's fate was sealed. In the immediate aftermath, it was just chaos. I mean, you had official inquiries kicking off in both the US and Britain, but with the wreck itself lost to the deep sea, they had to rely on one thing: eyewitness accounts. And those accounts were conflicting and confusing. The truth was as murky as the water that swallowed the ship. And this slide really gets to the heart of the problem. You had survivors, people who were actually there, who swore they saw the ship break in half. But the official inquiry? It concluded the ship sank in one piece. They imagined this gigantic, 100-meter gash from the iceberg. But the truth was way, way different. For over 70 years, the official story was basically a myth. Finding the wreck in 1985 was, a monumental achievement. But it just raised more questions than it answered. How do you investigate a debris field spread out over 40 square kilometers in total darkness under crushing pressure? It was kind of like trying to map all of Manhattan at night with a single tiny flashlight. So, how do you solve a problem that seems impossible? How do you finally shine a light on a crime scene that's been in complete darkness for a century? Well, the answer was you had to invent entirely new forensic tools to do it. So scientists sent down these autonomous underwater vehicles. You can think of them as these super high-tech torpedoes. They just crisscross the entire area, sort of like mowing the lawn, pinging it with sonar. They gathered millions of data points and then combined all of that with thousands of high-definition photos to build a perfect 3D digital replica of the wreck. And that's exactly what this project pulled off. For the first time ever, investigators could see the whole wreck site clear as day, almost as if somebody had just drained the entire Atlantic Ocean. So, with this incredibly clear digital model, the real revelations could finally start. For the first time, we can put all those old myths to bed and see what the evidence actually tells us. This was the story for almost 100 years, a huge, catastrophic wound that just doomed the ship in an instant. It was dramatic, it was simple, and it was completely wrong. So here's what actually happened. The damage wasn't one giant gash. It was more like a series of small, scattered punctures, adding up to only about 1 square meter of damage in total, but spread across those first 6 compartments. A much quieter, more subtle injury, but just as fatal. And this is where the science lines up perfectly with the history. See, a 100-meter gash would have sunk that ship in just a few minutes. But the forensic model with the small punctures, that predicted a sinking time of about 2.5 hours, which is an almost exact match for the 2 hours and 40 minutes it actually took. All of a sudden, the timeline finally made sense. But, this new evidence brought up another question. If such small damage could sink the unsinkable ship, was it just poorly made? Was it built with cheap materials like so many people have claimed over the years? The truth is, the ship's strength wasn't its failure. It was actually its saving grace. That long, slow sinking process was a direct result of how strong its build was. It wasn't a flaw. It was a window of opportunity that allowed the crew to launch every single lifeboat and save 700 lives. But this cold, hard data does so much more than just solve a technical mystery. In this final part, we're going to see how it brings the profound human story right back into focus. These digital scans aren't just for measuring steel plates. They allow us to stand on the phantom decks, to look out from the bridge where the captain stood, and to bear witness to the final moments of 1,500 people. When you look at this model, you're not just seeing an object. You're seeing the exact place where people said goodbye to their families, where crew members worked right up to the very end, and where, through a simple porthole, someone trapped below took their last look at the world. This digital preservation is arriving just in the nick of time, because the physical wreck, it's disappearing. Scientists estimate that by the year 2030, metal-eating bacteria will have consumed most of what's left. And what the bacteria don't eat, the ocean floor is claiming. There are these gigantic underwater sand dunes that are slowly moving across the site, threatening to just entomb the Titanic for good. The crime scene is vanishing right before our eyes. And that leaves us with a final, really urgent question. This whole forensic investigation is a race against time. The Titanic is a story about technology, failure, and human loss. But now, it's also a story about memory and our fight to uncover the truth before it's lost to the darkness forever.